I have to say personally, I've enjoyed it. And the remarkable thing about that is, as a sort of stage manager, you're usually concerned about all the little details and not so much about getting benefit out of the whole proceedings. For those of you who follow the sartorial habits of professors, you may have noticed that as we went through from one day to the next, my jacket got darker and darker and darker. I don't know if there's any kind of message in that. Anyway, what I've carried away from this symposium, 3 points. First, complexity. The complexity of what impresses me anyway, the complexity of Ukraine's socio-cultural, political makeup and the dynamics that go with that. And then the complexity of the external environment within which Ukraine finds itself, military, diplomatic, political, economic, and cultural. The country is being pulled and pushed in various directions by outside powers, Russia and Germany, France, United States. And then there's also the global media environment, which with its various troubling characteristics. So in that situation, simple generalizations are not really adequate, although this is often what we're trying to strive towards. It's not all a black and white picture as some would have it. So at least I think we carry that message away, I think we've learned something. Secondly, about revolution. Now, I'm not postmodernist like Mychailo, Wynnyckyj. I would say I'm more like a pre-modern. Revolution, when it's fully achieved, entails a fundamental change in fundamental transformation in 3 aspects. The political elite, the relationship between the elite and the public, and thirdly, the dominant idea, that is the dominant ideology, whether it's liberalism or whatever. And in those respects, this has still not happened in Ukraine. Ukraine has not achieved a revolution. In that regard, the Euromaidan or Revolution of Dignity is just a beginning. There was, as someone said at earlier in this conference, a failure of politics. There's been a failure of politics here. A failure, in particular, to institutionalize a responsive form of democratic government. And our speakers today were talking about that. Governing for the well-being of the whole public, not of oneself. There's also been a failure of political leadership, and that's been pointed out. So that in the meantime, Poroshenko is doing about as well as could be expected, and there is a civil society now, after the Maidan, which wasn't there before. And a third point that I take away from this symposium is the question, what should Canada be doing? To me, the symposium urges ramping up with respect to Ukraine, humanitarian assistance, support for the rule of law, and the accompanying institutions, support for anti-corruption. And here in Canada, it suggests to me ramping up our own government's support for the training of more people with cultural sensitivity in foreign policy making, so that our policies towards Ukraine will be a little better informed by these complexities and other features. So it remains finally to thank everybody, our sponsors who are listed in the program, all of you for attending today and the previous days and making this a success, our presenters for bringing us their knowledge and expertise and sharing it with us, our director in absentia, because he is busy fighting against the bureaucracy for the survival of the very institute itself, and the organizing committee, which is listed in the program, for helping put this project together. But especially, I want to thank personally Bohdan and Helena Klid and Irina Fedoriw and Alexander Pankiev, who all really went beyond the call of duty, and this wouldn't have been possible without their very hard work, a lot of it behind the scenes, which didn't show up in the actual program or the course of the proceedings. And I want to thank also the IST technicians who have helped us make this a success by amplifying the voices and also by recording it for posterity. We do not, I think, want to thank the University of Alberta for putting us up in that terrible room for the first 2 days. So maybe it's time for an on-campus Maidan to protest the downgrading of Ukrainian studies at the University of Alberta. But for that, we'll need leadership. And we'll need leadership, and we'll need ideas if we're going to stage this kind of revolution of aligning the resources of the university with the requirements of understanding today's world. And in the meantime, as we say goodnight to Taras, who must be very tired at this late hour, in the meantime, I want to thank everybody personally, sincerely, and to say, in the words of René Lévesque, who uttered this on a similarly depressing occasion, à la prochaine. So, дякую, спасибі, and до побачення.